let's get into the tiny onion. Is this the third or fourth year? I can't
I
remember.
think this is our fourth.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it
I
was
think it's
fourth.
the fourth. Yeah.
And shame on me for having you on in May, because we usually do this in January. But it's been a busy year for both of us. So I want to kind of go back in time. So the whole purpose of this is to follow your journey on manifesting this business, the tiny onion, to see where it goes and just kind of follow you along the way. So let's go back and pretend this was January, because the reason we do it in January is like, what's the plan for this year? And then we'll kind of hear how the last year's been, all that type of stuff. But if you were back in January, what's this year looking like for you? What was your plan at the beginning of the year?
Let's see. So, I think the plan at the beginning, you know, it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like so long ago. I do have, goals and things written down, but I would say the plan for this year was to kind of get a footing. I did a lot of work last year on my website. I wouldn't call it a rebrand, but just like a refresh. So a lot of work on my website, and I'm on Google now, so you can review me, and more views, getting more like out there, so you're able to find me. And I did an article, and I think I talked about the article with you. I was featured in an article. I think I talked about it with you last year. But the fact that that article has gotten me so much business, I think my thought for the beginning of this year was, how can I do more of that? Not necessarily articles for business, but just get myself out there in a way, like, you know, authentically, not on purpose, like pay someone to do things like that. My whole thing was just to let things kind of flow and be myself. And someone approached me to do the article. I did it, well, actually, while I was like at a client's house cooking for them, and I scheduled this call, and I didn't realize that it was like I double scheduled myself. So I'm literally meal prepping for a client while I'm on the phone call with this reporter. And a client even like walked in. Normally the clients, they work from home, but they don't come into the kitchen. He just happened to come in and was like talking to me while I had my butt in, and I'm on the phone with the reporter. And I like, the reporter just like understood the assignment. He didn't even like say anything. He listened to me talk to the client. It was like, "Oh, how you doing?" Like the normal stuff. And then when he went back into his office, I said to like Hank, I'm like, "I'm so sorry." He goes, "No." He goes, "That was so cool. Like I felt like I was in it with you or whatever." So he actually wrote a really beautiful piece. And the fact that that is getting so many hits, like people, whenever they Google like personal chef, that article comes right up. So I did a lot of work with myself, with a woman who helped me with my website, to be able to get me out there, so when people do search for things, that my name pops up more. And this year was more about the analytics of that, like how that really scaled for me and what works and what doesn't. So I was focusing a lot on that, getting myself out there in that way. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as goals and things of what I wanted for this year, just to see how that stuff really worked, because I never really paid much attention to that.
Well, first off, I need a link to that so we can put it in the show notes so everybody
Oh,
can
okay.
go read it and keep on hitting the SEO for it.
Okay.
But I love the fact that your goal was to organically and authentically kind of earn that press, if you will. Because I don't think there's right or wrong, but I'm in the same way. There's nothing wrong with like hiring a PR company and buying access to audiences, but I'm stubborn and I don't want to do that either. And I think the trade off is you just have to be willing to accept that you're probably going to take a little bit longer to maybe hit some of those growth goals, because it's going to take longer to organically grow. But like, I look at it as quality versus quantity. Like, okay, I could pay a PR company and get on podcasts or get on stages that don't really align with who I want to talk to. So yes, I have all these eyeballs, but is it really worth it? And I kind of operate from this mindset, like I want to earn it and not have it given to me. And the way I feel about, like, if I were to hire PR, I feel like that's given and not necessarily earned. And maybe that's wrong, and like maybe that's why I'm not where I potentially could be, because who's to say that if I pay for the access that I don't actually earn the follows or earn the people who might get there. So like maybe I'm hindering myself. But I share the same sentiment as you do, is of wanting to grow organically and on my own terms.
I feel exactly the same way. I battle with that all the time, because obviously, like, closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't
Right.
put yourself out there, how do people know you're there? But ever since the very beginning, like, I've always been very particular about how I put myself out there, who's putting me out there and why, and even like how I sell myself on social media. I always wanted to be in charge of that story, that narrative. Obviously, I can pay someone to run my media for me and do all of that. And um, I never really wanted to do that. And honestly, today, like thinking back to when I started, the most consistent compliment or even comment that I get is about my social media and how, great that is, how consistent it is, how great of a job I do. And it's just me doing it. And I think like that's something that has always been important to me, that I know that when people look at my social media and they look at the product I'm putting out, it all aligns. And even so much as like pictures that they see, like I could use stock photos and because it's easier and they look better and all that thing, but like I want them that this salad that you see on my page is like the salad I'm making for you at home, and I've always been that way. But I think it's, yeah, I don't have a lot of followers, all those things. You could pay for followers now, you can do all that, but when I look at like who's viewing my stories, when I look at my follower list, like it's like people that I know. And yeah, there are some people that I don't know, but maybe you know them through social media, but it's not like a bunch of strangers that will never use your business or anything. Like I have all real people that are like supporting me, and I think that's, for me, that's more important than having a million followers that I don't know and will never hire me to come to their house. So
I always look to hip hop for inspiration. Like, and so I really like a lot of the like the independent artists. So like you look at someone like Larry June. I don't know if you follow like know who that is, but he's a West Coast rapper. Like all independent, all on his own. Does his branding and stuff. West Side Gun of Griselda. Like there's all these people that like are really respected by their peers, but like a lot of like the mainstream people don't know them. And my friend Matt Ziegler, who's been on the podcast before, he wrote a blog post that like I keep referring to, and it talks about if you want to be like hit, if you want to be like a mega star like Jay-Z, or do you want to be underground like Talib Kweli. And like everybody thinks, oh yeah, it'd be cool to be Jay-Z, but there's a lot of things that when you get to that level that actually are drawbacks, and depending on what your authentic life looks like. And for me, like the Talib Kweli, like yeah, sometimes it'd be cool to be really well known, but like what Talib Kweli or Larry June or Russ, like these rappers that I like, what they've built, it's loyal audiences. It's big enough for them to, provide for their families, to take care of themselves, and have really good relationships. Like to me, that's really what I want. So that's what you're describing as well.
same.
So give us, so now that we kind of got the focus for 2025 was just getting yourself more out there in an authentic and organic way. How did 2024 shape up for you?
Really well. So the last time we talked, I believe, was the beginning of 2024, and I kind of wanted it to be my busy year. I do remember talking about, I think I wanted to get out there more, and like be featured in articles, get on some panels, things like that. That necessarily didn't happen. I mean, that one article had already happened and I was getting a lot of hits from that. I didn't make it to any panels, but I did do a lot of like networking. I went to a couple like chef events. I met some really good people, grabbed some more contacts. And I'm starting to blur the years. That's 24. The beginning of this year, I did a little bit of traveling, um, but I think like overall, I've just been like building my network up, which is really important to me. Um, Even just for myself, but for my business as well. I think you're only as strong as your network, and having such a really solid circle around me has always been important. So I think like last year shaped up, it was, the end was so busy. I closed out the year with like one of the busiest 2 weeks that I've ever had, and one of the events was for my mentor. My mentor since college, so she was my professor in culinary school, and then she took me under her wing, and we've been close ever since then. So I've had like a over 20-year relationship with this woman. So she has been like the pivotal voice in my ear of like every single thing in my life. I've always run it by her. She's always been there for me. And I look up to her like nobody's business. And she hired me to prepare her husband's 70th birthday party meal, and anything that I am is because of her. And like if you think that I'm like particular or crazy in the kitchen or very, strict, it's because Professor Lynch was, and that's how she taught me. So imagine like cooking for her. So like I was like out of my mind. I was so nervous. And at the end, I literally told her, I was like, professional English, this was the hardest thing I ever did. And of course, like she felt bad by that, but I'm like, she's like, you've cooked for like some pretty heavy hitting people. You've done bigger numbers, you've done all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I think it's just because like I respect you so much. And I was just so nervous. It was wild. But we to be done with that, it was like the greatest feeling, and we did a really good job. We really did crush it. So I had a small but mighty team with me, and we did it in our kitchen, and it really worked out well. And it was just cool to kind of come full circle in that regard. Like she's known me since like my very first day of school, of college, young, 20-year-old. And she's watched me grow. So to be able to do that for her and her like genuinely be happy and proud with it, that like closed out my year perfectly.
So what was the meal? What'd you do for the 70th birthday?
Gosh, now I don't even remember. I can just see the pictures of all. So we had a lot of roasted vegetables. It was so funny because even she mentioned, so, she had an oven, but we decided to do like this roasted vegetable medley. And I had like
Mhm.
Brussels sprouts and radish and carrots, and they were in trays all out on the prep table for a long time because I wanted them to like be fresh and beautifully roasted. And she has this thing like hot food hot. Obviously, hot food should be hot, but that is like a very big thing for her. Like,
Mhm.
and me too. Like, when you go to a place and food comes out and like you're sitting there and you're not eating it fast enough and it gets like cold. So hot food should be hot, but that's not as easy to do when you're like preparing food in someone's kitchen and serving it, and then you got to worry about like how what the timing is and all that. But gosh, now I don't even really remember what I did, but we did New York strip steak. I did like a creamy polenta. I did roasted vegetables, chicken with mushroom gravy, like a beautiful family style menu that it went over really well, and people are still talking about it. So that's good too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool that you got to kind of like full circle. And I'm sure that she was extremely proud of like the hot food being hot and
Yeah.
all of the attention to detail. And sometimes we need those events to kind of make us level up. Like
Yeah.
not that you don't pay attention to all the details, but it's easy in the course of day to day to kind of like relax a little bit. But then like that was like that's like your Super Bowl for last year. Like this is the one where you're putting
Yes.
everything into it, all of the details to make sure everything was perfect. And like some of that was gonna like you'll level up so that every time has some of the more of that than usual. So that's pretty cool. And just to be able to take care of somebody who you respect and has taken care of you is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience.
So what was the biggest surprise in 2024?
Ooh.
Man, what I mean by this, like something that you couldn't have expected. It could be like good or bad, whatever. But I would think more about along the lines of like positive because I have a follow up of like lessons learned. So like a surprise you didn't expect. It could have been that, but is there anything else that happened in 2024 where you look back and like that wasn't on my bingo card and that was a really cool opportunity. And it could be even outside of the tiny onion because the tiny onion touches everything. So if there's anything else that was a big surprise.
Um, let's see. So we're talking 2024. I moved, and that's not necessarily a
Mm-hmm.
like a business thing, but I didn't in the beginning of that year when I talked to you, I definitely didn't think that I was going to move. And I didn't move anywhere far. I just moved to like, basically across the street just to another place, but I didn't plan to, and it definitely when I decided to finally make the move due to like, renewing leases and things like that, I was like the time that it happened was probably one of the busiest times in the year. Was right around this time now in May, and I was very busy in at my consulting job at Duke Farms. We had like 2 weeks full of like these crazy events, and then I also had a lot of Chef Lauren things as well. And I'm like, and I'm also moving, and I'm definitely like a creature of habit. I'm very particular. I like to like have my space and just know how everything is going to go the way it should. So like moving in the middle of that and having like my space kind of like disarray a little bit, I was like, and I thought it was really going to kind of mess me up in my work life, but it didn't. And I think like that kind of really shocked me. I do feel like there's been a lot of points in the year where I have shown growth that I've not noticed before in myself, things that would normally bother me, ways that I would normally react to things, things that would like completely shake me up that like didn't. So I look at that as growth, and I don't know, like, it's just kind of happening gradually. And not even that I sat down and was like, Lauren, you need to work on this. But obviously there are things in myself that I know that I should work on. And I think like I'm just pretty proud of how that is just rolling into just being a normal thing. So I didn't expect to move.
How'd you navigate the move and the stress of a busy time? How did you get through that? Did you just like keep on showing up, or was there anything that you were able to do that kind of helped you navigate that stressful time?
So I really just have begun to like kind of like talk myself through it. Like, look, like you have to move and you're also very busy. And you can either like totally stress about it like you normally do,
Mhm.
or you can just kind of move and shake around what it is. Like just start packing. Like I literally waited to like the last, I did not want to pack. Like the idea of packing my stuff up and like having things in boxes, being in two places, not being able to know like this is where I put my keys every time. Like I am so like rigid with certain things
Mhm.
that like, so I'm like, Lauren, just do it. Just start doing it. And I was doing it, and then like also part of my personality is like I have a hard time like taking the leap in most things, but then once I jump, I'm great. Like, but I need to either be pushed or like or even just push myself. But once I'm out there, I'm like, okay, like now it's a sink or swim kind of situation, and I'm really good at swimming, but I'm not good at the jumping. I'm not a jumper. But I've been able to be put in situations where I've been forced to jump or I have been persuaded to jump, and then it always ends up working out. So I think like the more you do that, I think the more you jump, then you get used to it. And that's even like in real life too. Like I won't jump off a diving board. I won't jump off a cliff into a beautiful lake or anything. I'm just not a jumper. But if I were able to get myself to like not be nervous to actually do it, I'm sure the experience of like being in that water is great. But like it has to, I have to be pushed. So I think what I did was once I finally just talked myself into like this is what it is, you have to do it. And once I started moving like literally, I was just like, okay, we're just going to pack a little bit of time, I'm just going to pack my car up, I'm going to drive back and forth, I'm going to get this new space as set as I can. And just all of a sudden you look around and it was like set up, and I had my stuff in the places that it needed to be, and I was still very busy, and I was able to come home and still decompress the way I needed to, and it all worked out. So it was a good lesson.
Well, I think the beauty in that story is, well, there's a couple things. One, things work themselves out. Like we are resilient, and while it may not always go as smoothly as we want, like things will work themselves out. But also that maybe it's not, maybe it doesn't get characterized as fear, but I'm going to call it fear. Like there's the fear of the jump for you, even in the move. Like there's fear of like, am I going to be able to do all this? Can I manage all of it? It's busy time. Like there's fear that's behind it. And usually our fear is way worse in our head than what it ever really is in a being. So that fear keeps us. Now, you jumping off of a cliff into a water is a different type of fear, but it's still the same thing. Like
Yeah.
assuming that you're at a place that's safe to jump, the water's deep enough, there's no rocks by there. Like your fear of death because of jumping off is not going to be realistic. So like it ends up being, and to your point, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It may not mean that the fear doesn't show up, but it's a lot easier to recognize that, oh, this is fear holding me back, and fear is false evidence appearing real. Shout out to my barber who taught me that, and that it's not really as bad as I think it's going to be, and I've done this before. And it just, like, again, I think it becomes easier to overcome that fear the more you do it, but you just have to do it a few times to see that, okay, everything's going to be okay. And magically, life works itself out. Like, if we kind
Yeah.
of stay out of the way and surrender a little bit and don't have to be totally in control, then we will do what we need to do to get things done, whether it's plan way in advance and get things moving, or we wait till the last minute. And most of us wait till the last minute. There's a law, it's called Parkinson's law, which says that work will expand to the amount of time that you give it. Meaning, if you give yourself 2 months to get something done, it'll take 2 months to get it done. But you give
Yeah.
yourself the same task in 2 weeks, you'll get the same thing done in 2 weeks because of the way we procrastinate and the way our mind works. So I think it's a great lesson to share that, like, okay, there's a lot going on, and how am I going to do it? We just figure out how to do it. Like we get
Yeah.
things done.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, I was gonna ask you if you had a lesson learned, but that's the lesson there. So that, well, we can kill two birds with one stone with that question.
Awesome.
Um, so we've got a little bit of update, but like let's get a true update of like where does Tiny Onion stand today? So building upon 2024 as we go back and link all the interviews that we've done, where does Tiny Onion stand today from a business standpoint?
Stand in a pretty good solid spot. Like I am getting a lot of inquiries. People like buzzing about, meal prep and dinner parties and events and things. So I took on two new clients this year, which meal prep clients, which I told myself I wasn't gonna, which I probably shouldn't have said that, but I was like, I'm at capacity, but I was able to take on two new clients. I think like everything has like, it's good to say like what you think is enough, but also like there are also like loopholes within that too. So these two clients ended up like being like close in proximity to me. They're singles. It was really easy. I was able to do like one drop off, which I don't even normally do drop offs, but like there's always a way to kind of move and shake around whatever needs to get done. Again, that lesson. So I did take on a couple of new clients. So I'm in like a really good spot of my chef Lauren were like my meal prep clients are full. I'm getting the word is getting out there for more dinner parties. I still would like to get into more homes, like do more, a little bit more dinner parties than I am. And then like some date nights. That has kind of slowed down a little bit, and the focus really has been on meal prep. And like I don't have the capacity to do as much meal prep as I would to be able to do like steady meal prep, maybe however many clients it is, let's just say eight, and then 8 to 10, and then be able to do these one-off events and things, which there's been pockets of time, like there's some busy times where, around the holidays, around springtime, maybe some summer birthdays and things like that. But I would like to be like for that to be more of a thing. So I'm kind of in this place where everything is just like steady and full, but not overflowing of like I can't handle it, but like in a really good spot. And then the same thing with my capacity at Duke Farms. Like that's really rolling really well. We're getting ready. We're in the busy season there with the visitors, and we're in the busy season of like conference season. So I'm doing a lot of more like 3-day convenings where I handle all the food there. And that's cool because I'm trying to start off some new things with that, have some guest chefs come in, kind of expanding myself there and trying out new things, because I think that will also open up my network and then get me seen more in the way that I want to be seen. So I think we're in a really good spot. I think it's good.
How do you want to be seen?
So I I have like some lofty goals, and I'm sure that I've shared them with you on previous podcasts. Like, of I really want to be like featured in the New York Times,
Hmm.
in like the food section or just in general. I want to be, and this is kind of tough because, like, do I want to be? Because if I did, then I know like I would have to do certain things that also don't necessarily align with me. So I
Hmm.
kind of want to be, but I kind of also don't. And that's probably answering the question. Like, but when I see like, so like listed on things like, Top Chef under whatever, I'm not under 40 anymore, but like all those kind of, all those things like, or, chefs that get asked to be like thought thinkers like on on podcasts or featured in an article or on panels and things like that, experts in certain fields and things like that. Like I would like to be seen in that way, but the thing about that is that I don't have like a restaurant. I a lot of these chefs that are getting put in books and articles and all of that have like a brick and mortar place that they are able to showcase and do like their mission related thing out of that, or they're able to start like, I don't have like that actual niche outside of all the things that I stand for, but there are like specific things that I think people like a James Beard Award. Like I really would like one of those, or I would like to be recognized in that arena. But I need to find a path to get on to that. But also too, like I'm in a mindset like a lot of these younger chefs are doing that. They started a lot younger doing it. I am going to be 44 this year, and not that age is the deciding factor, but there is like a lot of things that I'm necessarily not willing to do anymore in my in career in my life that I probably would have needed to do to get seen in that way. But I also do think that like if I put it out there enough and the things that if I think it would be really cool to do it in my way. And that is kind of stubborn, right? But also kind of cool. Like just the same thing as like the social media and what we were talking about earlier, that like if someone finds me in the way that I'm showing myself and not selling myself out, working 1,000 hours, doing all this. I just read a really good article by Matt Jennings. He's a chef that was talking about like how these chefs are killing themselves to get like a certain amount of stars and get Michelin rated and all of that, like literally killing themselves. And I was on that path and I jumped out of it. So I don't want to. get it that way. I want to get it the way that I'm living my life now, and maybe even get the recognition for that specifically, because that's also pretty cool.
First off, cut that talk about
I
age.
know.
I'm 43.
I knew
I'm
you were gonna say
43,
it.
so I'm right behind you, and we are young. We are
I knew you
young.
were gonna say it. I knew.
Um, I'm interested to see if you'll go down this path with me. But what is so? I'll preface this. But let me share my similarity to you. For me, earlier in my career, the accolades, like I wrestled with them as well. Like I genuinely don't believe I wanted to make the list and get the awards for ego. Maybe there's a little bit, but it wasn't like I don't want to use them for marketing. The way I looked at it was if I earned that award, that especially when it's peer driven, then that means the work I'm doing is respected by by people that I respect. And to me, that was that was the reason for it. Like I did make a 40 under 40 in our profession. I don't put it on my bio. The award came it was a glass award that actually got shattered. I didn't like FedEx must have like punted it down the hallway. Like I picked it up and it was like jingling. I'm like, that's not good. And I keep it on my Gary Vee wall in the box broken, just as a reminder that like, it's nice to get the awards, but it also doesn't define me. And at the end of the day, unless I'm constantly talking about it, no one knows and no one cares.
Yeah.
So like I wrestle with that as well. Like I want the respect of people that I respect because it means I've been doing a good job, but I don't really care about it to like float to like boast my ego. And so anyways, that all being said, what is it about New York Times? What is it about some of the awards that like makes you want that? And I
Yeah.
ask
So
with I ask from a space of like no judgment, and there's not a right or wrong answer. I'm just curious, like why are those awards important to you?
I think maybe when I was younger, it might have been ego driven. I think now it is more exposure, and like what I can do with that accolade or that platform, being seen more and being able to get my word out more and things that I care about and like, things that are important to me. You just have a bigger platform to do that. So I think it's more in that way. And then a tiny bit too. It might be a little ego driven. It might just be a little bit of like recognition in my brain where, and I don't think I never was the type to like think that like I needed that to know that I'm successful. I feel very successful where I am right now. I've never been happier in my life. I feel like I am winning. So, but when I do see some of the things out there, other chefs and things, and I wonder like, is this the path I want to go on? I still always come to know, but there's like a little bit of a fork where part of me wants a little bit of it. And I think it is based upon like just where I think I want to go in the future and where I want to push the tiny onion to. Do I want to be meal prepping for the rest of my life? Probably not. And would things like those type of accolades push me to another level where I can still reach the people in that way, but not necessarily be making, their sweet potatoes? I don't know. So I think like, I think I probably have to unpack that a little more, but I think that's like a little bit of what it is.
My guess is you don't need New York Times and those awards to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
and like not there's anything wrong with like that being part of the reason. Like we're all learning and figuring these things out. I think the awareness of understanding, okay, why do I think I want this? And is that award self-limiting? And like I'm guilty of this as well. So like it is my belief that if I get this award, then it'll be easier to get the audience that I want. Maybe, but maybe not. And my guess is it would definitely help if you got it, but I also think that you and I both can grow our impact without having to have those types of things. Like I just think that you could probably build the same platform without those awards by just continuing to do what you're doing and maybe even being more intentional with some of like the social media stuff. Like social media is not always the answer for everything, but I think that social media and growing your following gives you the ultimate voice. And
Yeah.
like that we can fully control and we can fully own ourselves. Going back to some of those like not underground, independent rappers that I like they like they own everything. They own their masters. They do like they own everything. Including the relationships with their fans, and they can really have a direct impact with them and have that reach. So like for me, I'm just thinking as a chef, like YouTube has got to be a great place to grow the audience. Now, how are you showing up and what are you doing there that's authentic to you? I don't know, but I'm just thinking that like the people who are following you on Instagram are getting a sliver of you because of like the way that the platform's set up. So
Yeah.
if they're loving you on Instagram, then they're surely going to love more of you on YouTube, especially if it's like you're just doing the lessons on the YouTube channel and people are seeing you do your thing. And I know that's different than having a restaurant, but I also think you could build a platform on helping people make healthy meals that taste really good, but also don't take forever. Like that's my big thing with cooking is just the meal prep
I know.
sucks.
It's
And when
always
you've
been
got
your
like
thing.
when you've got practices like in the evenings and it's just like it's an excuse, but it's difficult. So anyways,
Yeah.
I like my challenge to you to maybe push you out of your comfort zone is I don't think you give up the New York Times goals and like the awards, but I think that my challenge to you is like, can you do something different with the remainder of this year prior to we talk again next year to do something different to grow your audience? So you've got the newsletter, you're doing the networking, which is great. Like keep on doing those things, but I think YouTube would be massive for you because you've got like you're a great personality, you're a great chef. Like I would watch videos and cook alongside you if I could. And then like later on you can flip that to where you don't not everything's always going to be free on YouTube. You have your own channel, it's a premium thing. Like you could do those types of things if you want.
Mhm.
And then who knows where that takes you. And you might get the New York Times recognition because you have this big ass channel that's all based on your cooking, healthy cooking and all that type
That's
of
true.
stuff. So that's my challenge to you.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
There we
You
go.
know how much I hate video, but we'll do.
I know. Yeah, but in that discomfort is where we find growth.
Yes, it's true.
And depending on what it is that you don't like, if you don't like being in front of the camera, then like maybe you're in front of the camera just to intro it, and then the rest of the camera is on your hands doing the cooking. Like
Yeah,
because
I like that.
because Ange like Ange is that way. Like I want her to be in more of her social media for her store. She hates being in front of the camera. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, then like do voiceovers. Like you don't have to like be in front of it. And then maybe you get comfortable after you're in the front of the camera to do the intro and the outro. You get a little more comfortable. So then you sprinkle yourself in a little bit more. And like, I think that like video sometimes gets this belief that it's complicated to do. And
Sure.
it is not super easy, but it's also not super hard. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you're just trying to get started doing your videos, just put your iPhone up on a tripod, shoot it where you're at, and like you don't have to have multiple angles to get started. You build your audience, like you're getting some business out of it, and you can invest. And like, okay, now you get a second camera that's like one is kind of angled at you, the other one's over the food, and then you get a video editor. Like you can ease into it. I think a lot of times we think, oh, my videos have to be top notch, cutaways and all this stuff. Not to get started,
Yeah.
not to like you look at someone like yoga with Adrian. If you go back and look at the beginning of when she was doing yoga on YouTube, like it was super, super basic. And like
Yeah.
now it's way more complicated, but it's not day one. So, anyways,
Okay.
um, that's my challenge to you to help you grow your audience, control your narrative, control your voice while you wait for New York Times and the other things to come to you. And I think talking about it, putting it out there is also important as well. Like now it's in the universe, it's floating around. All right, so the challenge has been issued. You have accepted. So next year we will see what happens on YouTube. So so that tells it. So like let's talk about the remainder of the year. Kind of what's in store for Chef Lauren and for Tiny Onion.
Yeah, so the remainder of the year, I'm just gonna push through. I mean, I have a lot of things on, like, I do have some events planned. Like I said, I'm busy at Duke Farms, and I think that's gonna catapult me into some other things. I do want to start um, doing like some more events that are like driven by me. So, and that could be sort of to where like the videos and stuff come in, because I do hear the YouTube challenge, and a lot of people tell me that I should be on YouTube. I also don't want to be just like another chef on YouTube, s- cutting up things and telling you how to like cook. Like, so I need to think bigger of like what I really want, like how to get I really want to get my story out there. Ultimately, what I really want to do is write a book, have a book, have a couple books. So I think like a cookbook is something I really want, but I want it to be very like journal based. I also want to do like a tiny memoir, and I need to start getting my memories and things out on paper because I have so many like life experiences that are within the business. Um, I mean, my story is pretty decorated, and I feel like I would love to put that down on paper and get that, out there. And I think that I would sooner jump into that ocean than I would like YouTube videos. And I think I'm very scared of that too. I feel like it's just scared of having something tangible that people can read and they know that it's me. Because I have like, there's a lot that I could put in there. But also too, like the back end of it, like who's gonna edit it and publish it and how am I gonna print it and how much money and all that kind of stuff that's like swimming around in my brain that seems like really tough for me. But that is probably a big goal that I really should start jumping on. So not saying that that's going to be the back end of this year, but that is definitely what I want. And if you say like what would be my goal for next year, then that's probably it.
Challenge has been changed. It's the
Okay.
book. Throw
Change
throw
it.
YouTube out. Don't worry about
Okay.
YouTube.
Okay.
I think of the two books, pick the one that you want to do first.
Okay.
And then I'm going to build in some accountability with you because I'm writing a book as well.
Are you? Okay.
So I have multiple books in me,
Yeah.
but the first book I'm going to write is basically about my aligned life process. So what I want this to be is this is a book that kind of gives you the backstory of kind of how I got to this way of working with clients. But then like my service is expensive and I know that. And I only have a capacity for like 10 people doing this work. So it's expensive, not a lot of capacity, but I want to help as many people as possible live their authentic life. So what I want to do is write this book, and then in the book will be the process, everything.
Oh
I'm
my God.
waiting to get permission from the Kinder Institute to be able to include details of the evoke process that I use. My hope is since they have a book already and it's out there, as long as I do the proper attribution, that they'll have no problem with it. But I want you to be able to read this book, and if you can't work with me, you get the same. You don't get the same experience, but you get the same process.
Yeah.
So that way, anybody could read the book and anybody can make progress towards living a more authentic life in the way that I believe it should be done. So I have that book all outlined. I just need to build into my weekly schedule time to write. So you and I will find a way to hold each other accountable that each week we're doing progress towards the book. For you early on, it might be, okay, time to outline it. How's it going to be shaped? All the other stuff, like publishing, all that type of stuff, like those are distractions. Like they are
Yeah.
obstacles, but they're really easy. Like because the reality of it is, my sister-in-law is an editor. I could probably like she edits more books and like for like Christian writing, but I'm sure she could use another side of the project to edit. So like editing, I can help you with. Publishing, depending on your goals for this book, if it's just to get this book out the first time, you could publish at Amazon and it's easy. There's people who help you format it, you upload it to Amazon, and then it's kind of like on demand. Whenever somebody orders it, they print it and ship it out. That takes a little bit of like the design style, but also like there are other avenues that I've already explored when it comes to book publishing. Because one day there'll be a Pursuit Publishing arm
Oh.
under the Pursuit. So like my book, I'm going to self-publish it,
Oh.
and self-publishing I know will not be as much reach. There'll probably be a little bit more expense on the front end, but I get to control it and I get to begin to build this Pursuit Publishing that one day will publish books that are tied to authentic lives, whether it is somebody's memoir about their living their authentic life or a how to live your authentic life. Like that's what the publishing company one day will do. So anyways, ramble. Hopefully I didn't lose everybody as we kind of map this thing out, but like, let's hold each other accountable to writing our books. And I don't think you need to worry about YouTube. Keep doing the Instagram, keep doing those things and work on that book, because like when you talked about that book, even though we're on Riverside right now, like I could feel the energy of that. I could feel the excitement. I could feel the purpose of that book for you, but you got to choose which one you go after first. And then when that one's done, you can go to the second one.
Second one. Okay. Done. That challenge is accepted. When I said challenge accepted to the YouTube thing, I in the back of my brain, I'm like, I'm not really accepting this challenge. But the book one, definitely. Like I'm
Well,
gonna do it.
and that's perfect because listening to yourself and doing what is aligned with you, whether it's what you're most comfortable with. And I think sometimes we have to go towards what we're not comfortable with so we do grow. But if there is something that's aligned with where you want to go and it's a higher priority and you're more comfortable, then like don't do YouTube because everybody's telling you to do it. Go do the book.
Yeah, I'm
Because
not comfortable with either of them. Like I'm also not comfortable with the book, but I want to do the book. Like the book is speaking to me more than YouTube. So
mhm.
both of them, like I do believe too that people get caught up of like stuck into their comfortability a little bit too much, but both of them are uncomfortable to me, but the book one is definitely screaming to me a lot more than like putting myself on YouTube. So,
And there's a we don't know it yet. There's a reason it's screaming at you.
mhm.
Like It's screaming at you for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't ignore it. Like
Yeah.
go down that path, embrace that discomfort, and you write the book, and now there's another reason to be on podcasts
Yeah.
because now
Oh,
you have this book. Like the
yes.
book could be your restaurant. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
There you go. We
Awesome.
just work
Well,
through that together.
that'll be exciting next year to share everybody like what book you chose and how the writing process has gone and all that type of stuff.
I love it. See?
All right, so every time I like to kind of end with the bigger vision for Tiny Onion and Chef Lauren and how they all fit together. So we've been hearing how the vision has been evolving or not necessarily changing, but where you sit today, May 12th, 2025, what does the what is the bigger vision for the Tiny Onion and everything that's involved with that look like? Is it still the same or has it evolved some more?
I think it's stayed the same a little bit, and then also to the idea of continuing to branch out and get myself out there more. Like I have talked about a little bit about maybe helping someone like open a restaurant and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily it be my own. And I don't want to be the person that's like the head chef of their restaurant, but I would want to help them build it and
Mm-hmm.
be like, a partner with them and in charge of that. Like I want to kind of get out there more and then also help them like outfit it and staff it and all of that in conjunction with like writing my book and then continuing to like work with people and travel and do other things. So I want to really branch out and make the Tiny Onion brand a lot more like consulting, not so much just me in the home all the time, but just getting in front of more people in different ways and influencing them, to in the way of just going after what's important to you, not necessarily like also too eating healthier and bettering your life, but just like an overall lifestyle thing of like I really took a huge leap of like leaving a very stable corporate job and decided to jump into what I really wanted to do. Not too different from you, like living your authentic life and all of that, like that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. I don't want to be a life coach, but I just want to be more of an example of like this life that I'm living that people look at and see like, oh, like, isn't that nice? But like there were a lot of steps to take to do that. And like, you really do have to jump off something to get into this isn't this nice life. So like
Mm-hmm.
I think I just want to be more of an example of that and still staying true to myself and my mission of healthier eating habits and supporting local agriculture and all those kind of things. So
Mm-hmm.
bigger in that way.
Physical location, is that still long-term roadmap or less of a priority? I think last year
Um
it had moved back. It had moved back is not necessarily as
yeah,
important, but I'm just curious.
yeah, it's still I think that is still like my end game because I honestly still do believe that I mean, and the more I'm around entrepreneurs and talking to them that have like actual brick and mortar spots and they're telling me like, retail is dead and all these things and how hard it is and all of that. So like it's not like as strong as it was, but it's still definitely like a passion of mine to like
Mm-hmm.
have a small shop because I do feel like everything that I would want to do could be done out of there and like that could be that is still my very end game, but I also don't like want to like sail myself down the river for it. Like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be, in a terrible spot, financially or anything for that. But I
Mm-hmm.
do like long-term goal of like end game, that is probably ultimately it is. Or, living on a farm. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to do one. I want to try to do one short exercise before we wrap up. So thinking of the things you talked about coming up this year, book, getting out there more, networking, maybe trying to position to not have to do meal prep as much. What is an obstacle that stands between you and making that progress like today that you can think of? And then the exercise is I want to help you knock down that obstacle and build a plan to move forward. So it doesn't have to be anything massive. It can be something small. Like if it was the book thing, like I don't know like what's the subject's going to be and we can work through that. But like what's an obstacle that stands between you and making progress for this year?
Yeah, I think I mean, I think the only obstacle is myself. Like, I mean, the progress for this year, I think, is really actually rolling pretty well. If I'm talking about like the book, like an actual tangible thing that I need to do, would probably just be the idea of starting that. So, like, the idea of how I would even go about the book overwhelms my brain, but I probably just need to, like you said, like when you said write an outline, like I'm like, oh, like yeah, write an outline, duh. Like what do I actually, in my brain it kind of makes sense, but I gotta get it on paper, you know? So I think like I should write an outline. I should write an outline for both, choose which one I want to do. I'm kind of leaning towards memoir first and then cookbook, but I don't know if there's like a logistic way that one of those would do better first or whatever, but I might be thinking that too deeply also. So just just pick one and go, but I do need to just start doing it. And I think my newsletter, and I've also started like on my website, I have like a blog section and I have a recipe section now. So things that like I didn't have before that I'm pretty proud of, that like I feel like everything, the Tiny Onion brand is really coming together and really like solid. So like the fact that you can go on my website and see something that I've written as a blog, just, and they're more informative blogs, and I also want to kind of dabble into getting like a little more personal on there, but right now they're not personal blogs. And they maybe like that's a way that I can lead towards my memoir, like making that like do like a story of like how I became a chef, like little things like that, and like that be leading into the book, an idea, but not solid. But like, so the idea of all the Tiny Onion things kind of coming together, and I really feel like I'm a real brand. So like that to me is like where I wanted that. If you asked me what my goal was in the beginning of last year, that's probably what, whether I said it or not, that definitely was what I wanted. And I'm really, really happy with being in that spot right now. And I think the end of this year will just be like to continue to kind of move in that direction, knock some personal goals off the list, and continue to get out there. And I don't, and not nothing against all my lovely meal prep people, don't make them think that I don't love being in their homes, because they that is like the reason why I am Chef Lauren. And I love, and honestly, aside from like, that's probably like a big reason why I necessarily don't want to open up a restaurant, because like I love the fact of like being like part of the family, going into the homes. You know, I just did a communion for a young boy that I've been his chef since he's 4 years old, and then he just received his Holy Communion. And like to watch like these kids grow up, like I feel like it, that is a big part of what I do. I just don't want to, the reason why I say I don't want more is because I can't be Chef Lauren to everybody, and I don't want to scale in a way where I'm getting a million Chef Laurens. So like I don't want to have like a lot of people under me where like I can only go into so many homes. But I don't want to, people like, oh, you should just hire more people. Or you, I see a lot of chefs that have meal prep businesses that have like a lot of chefs under them. And that's not where I want the Tiny Onion to go. So that's why I'm saying like, you know, I can't do as much meal prep as I, you know, people might think. But so, but I am very happy with those clients and what I'm doing in that capacity, because I never really thought that that's what I wanted, and now that I'm doing it, it really is leaning me more towards that and less towards, everyone's like, why don't you open up a restaurant? I'm like, it's just not the same. Like it's not the same as being part of like a family.
I can totally. I'm gonna get to the obstacle in a second, but a couple comments. I can totally appreciate that because I same thing with Arlos Wealth. Like by now, I think the rebrand will have been out, but if it's not, rebranding my firm, changing the relationship of what I will be doing with new clients going forward. But that doesn't change the existing Arlos Wealth. Like in the rebrand, the legal name is still Arlos Wealth. I just have a DBA, which represents the future. I don't want to give up the clients I work with because I love working with them. And it's not that I'm unhappy with that. It's just that going forward, I know I want to show up and help people in a different way. So like one path I could have explored that I didn't was selling my business. Like one path forward could have been, all right, there's a value to the relationships I've built, which I don't really love looking at it that way, but I could have sold my business, started from scratch, but that's not what I wanted to do, because it's not that I don't love the work I'm doing. I do love the people and I do love the work with them, but do I want to do another 20 years of the same thing? No, I want to show up in a different way that I've learned and evolved into. So being my own business owner, I can have it both ways. I have my cake and eat it too, which I totally appreciate and understand where you're coming from on the meal prep stuff, and be like, okay, I don't want to stop doing it. I just don't want to scale in a way to allow me to do more, because there's other ways I want to show up. So let me structure things to allow me to do what I enjoy and stay with the families that I love, but then show up going forward in a different way and be able to do all the things I want. So you can do it. I love that.
Awesome.
Back to the book. I don't think my advice, I'm going to channel my inner Rick Rubin on this, is you create the book that you feel most called to create today, because you don't know. And when it's impossible to know which book is going to be the one that does better, quote
Yeah.
unquote better,
Hmm.
and you could spin your wheels and never make any progress because you're trying to go back and forth and try to do data analysts
I
and
know.
analysis and market research to figure out which book is going to do best. The book that will do best is the book that you feel called to write, that you can put the most creative energy and be most proud of. So whatever book that ends up being when you do your outlines is the one I would recommend and challenge you to go do. Going to the obstacle of you and figuring out which one you do. So there's 4 questions in the evoke process we use. What can you do about it? How can you do it? When will you do it? And who do you need to help? So if we say, from what I heard from you, and to not make this process take as long as it does in a true meaning, I hear from you that an obstacle in front of you is your ability to determine which book is going to be the one you go after first. So my question to you is, if that's the obstacle we're addressing, what can you do about solving that problem and overcoming that obstacle? And I think you answered it already, but what is it that you can do to help you determine which book to do?
So I like what you said. I mean, you were helping me with whether or not you knew you were or you were planning to, but the idea of like which book do I feel called, like more
Mm-hmm.
called to write? And I definitely feel called to write both of them. And I see the idea of both of them working really well. And less about like which one's going to do better as far as like I'm not looking to like which one's going to sell better, but like which one is going to speak more to people. And I guess I need to like which one is going to speak more to me, and then obviously you pour that in and people are going to gravitate towards that. um Both of them kind of light my soul up, because the idea of writing a cookbook, not so much for people to follow the recipes, but I would make it more of like a story type of book and like add that in there. So I think I can do either one. But and now that I talk about maybe the cookbook, so what I'm going to, like, they both are like oh my god to me. So I think what I'm going to do to get over the obstacle is just to, like you said, to write the outline of both of them. And honestly, like, they kind of melt together. I really could separate them, but I also could like make it a memoir recipe book. You know what I mean? Like it could be like a storytelling.
Okay, I got to interrupt. You see the big ass cheesy smile? Because
Yes.
after we worked through those, I was going to put on you were reading my mind. We're on the line. I was going to say, what if it was a memoir cookbook that
Yeah.
through the memoir, you sprinkle in the recipes?
Yes. And I
That
think
may
like,
be it.
right. And I think that's where it is, because I feel like I'm just so in love with my story and all of like the good and the bad parts of it. And I think like there are a million cookbooks out there, but the ones that I love the most are the ones that are a little bit deeper than just, because I don't follow recipes. I look at them to like to see where the chef came from, the origin of like why they chose to cook this food and all of that. So I'm just flipping through to get inspired by their story, and then just to see pictures of like, oh, I can make this, or should I make this? But I'm not like and that's me, and I do this. This is my profession. I know there are people that follow recipes, and I think people should still be making those books. But my my idea of this is more about pushing my story through what I do, and that's kind of like how my life has been. Like, my story through recipes and my story through cooking. Like, I basically give myself through my food, and I think like I can do that through paper too. So
Hmm.
there we go. I think that's we did it.
All right. So the what was determining which book to write. The how is going to be doing the outlines, and seeing how those feel. So the when. So like when will you commit to having outlines done?
I think by my birthday, because I think like
Okay.
every year since I started my business, something I've rolled out something or done something on my birthday, whether it had been like a website rebrand, a new like service that I'm offering, the newsletter was dropped on my birthday, all those kind of things. Like I like my birthday to be, since it's like kind of like a little bit more than halfway through the year, but that to me is like the start of my new year. And
Mm-hmm.
I like to like give a gift to myself and then give a gift to the people for my birthday. And it's usually something like that. So I'm not going to be like gifting them the book, but I think I can gift the idea and gift like a solid, like, this is what's going to be happening. This is what you can
Mm-hmm.
expect to see in 2026. So
I
I
love
will
it.
have the outline by my birthday, and you can hold me
And then
accountable.
there we go. The who do you need to help you? I will be the who. I will help you be accountable. Is there anybody else you need for that obstacle to help with the outlines? Like in the future, the who might be an editor and stuff like that. But with the outlines, other than accountability, anybody else you think you need to help you with that process?
I don't think so. I have a really good friend and also client who is an amazing writer, and she's like behind the scenes editor for me for like little things that I need to write that I, before ChatGPT or even with ChatGPT, like she always helps me and she writes so well. I even just asked her like to write a blog for me, just to kind of put it on there and change it up a little bit. But I think like, and I briefly mentioned the book to her, and she's definitely gonna watch this, so she'll know who she is. But like, I would love to like have her be a part of that with me and like
Mm-hmm.
actually even like write it with me. I don't know how that works or whatever, but obviously it would be my story, but her way of putting things on
Mm-hmm.
paper. I just love her style of writing. So I think outside of the logistics of like you, like she would probably be a big help to me as well.
Okay. Awesome. So that's how you overcome an obstacle. You just break it down to those 4 questions, and like what seemed like a big task is not. And then once those are done, you keep on doing the obstacles. So I think that's great. And then the final thing I'll throw out there is consideration. And I don't know how you would do this, but I think that like I love documentaries, and I love documentaries that are capturing things as they unfold. It's almost like you don't know what the documentary is going to be, but here you could plan a little bit ahead, and I don't know how you would do it, but it'd be kind of cool if you had video documentation of like the book process.
Oh.
It could be just a series of like video diaries, and maybe you never release it
Mhm.
and you just have them for yourself. Or maybe the book does really well, it's getting a lot of traction, and then you can piece together all these documentaries or all these videos of you going through the writing process, talking about the frustrations and all these things. And you have this little short documentary that shows you as you were writing the book to kind of go with the book. So that's kind of cool. And that's low pressure because yeah, you're getting in front of the camera, but there's no pressure that you have to ever release the video. It may just die on your computer one day and never be shown, or it might be something that becomes a really valuable asset to help the book when the launch goes too. So we'll talk offline in our accountability meetings and things along those lines. But
Yeah.
I know that you are busy and I'm taking up more of your time than I told you we would, but I thought that was kind of exciting to go through that. So any closing thoughts about the Word of the Tiny Onion has been, where it is, where it's going? Obviously, I'll have links to everything, so you can skip that. That'll just go to the show notes for everything you need to follow Lauren, and then also to the article that you were in last year. But any final closing thoughts?
No, aside from, a big thank you to you, like always. I know you don't
Mhm.
like it, but obviously, you've been one of my biggest supporters from the very beginning, ever since we first met each other. You didn't even know me, but you were pushing me to make videos. And even the fact that you were willing to jump on here every year with me and see the evolution of the Tiny Onion, I would say, like, you're probably top three supporters. Like, we don't even talk that much, but like, you're always interested in what's going on with me and pushing me to like think and do bigger. So I'm very appreciative of that. And thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your platform and all of your rebrands and all that stuff too. So I think that's really cool. Like,
Well, you're welcome. I need to get better about saying you're welcome to those things. And thank you for coming on my platform and sharing your story. Like, it's going to be really cool to look back as both of us continue to grow our reach and grow our impact and like look at these. Like, my goal with the podcast is eventually to transcend and have some of the bigger names on there. But what I really want to have my platform be is like, this is where the future names are. So the people that in 10 years are really, really known, we look back and they were on my podcast and I saw the talent beforehand. So
yeah,
it's cool to have you on and share your journey. And I hope that people, watching or listening are following along. And I hope that part of what comes from this is your story inspires somebody to go start their own tiny onion, whatever it looks like, and see how you're doing it, while you have another opportunity you're building on the side. And maybe one day, don't get mad, Duke Farms, but maybe one day you're not there anymore because everything has gotten to where it needs to be and they played an important part. So I hope that the story inspires other people to live true to themselves, pursue the goals that they want, and also realize that things work themselves out. And you're showing them that every time we hop on here. So thank you for joining me on the platform.
awesome. Thank you.
All right, everybody go follow Lauren. We will do it again in January. I'll be better about getting it in the beginning of the year. But you are kicking off the new name of the podcast, the next round of interviews. So you are kind of kicking off my year of podcasting. It just started later in the year. So
I
as
love it.
always, appreciate your time, and everybody go follow Lauren, and we'll see you in 6 months to hear how things are going.
6 months. I had better get to work.